Good afternoon. Yes, am I audible to you online, guys? Okay, great. So, any doubt in whatever yesterday's conversation that we have had? Yes. Yeah, conflict of interest is a situation where two interests which are legitimate. So, where interest in itself has no ethicality. So, two values conflicting, two interests conflicting. Like, you want to come to the class, at the same time, you also want to go to the friends party. Now, both are your interests. I'm giving very simple example for you to understand that there is no ethicality per se in conflict of interest. Ethical dilemma is when either to be compassionate or to be honest, what to decide. Then it is ethical dilemma. So, interest dilemma means conflict of interest. And ethical conflict means ethical dilemma. You understood now? Okay. Any further doubt? No. What is ethics? First chapter. Anyway, chapter as in these are just indicative. What do you understand by ethics? Principles of conduct. What are rules then? Guidelines to follow. Okay. Any further definition? I'm not saying it is wrong. Try to be as non-technical as possible. Ethics. Is it way of behavior? Okay. Ethics. Ideal or idle? Yes. Ethics, way of life, it's okay. Very loose, but it's okay. When ethics becomes way of life. Okay. Can there be unethical way of life? Yes, people do. So when ethics, way of life can be ethical or unethical. Yes, we'll come to it. Probity will come to it. Especially when the lecture of the probity, because we have a separate chapter on probity. Somebody is asking the definition of probity, but your conduct in such a way that your readiness for the probe towards accountability, ensuring accountability is probity. Okay, coming back to this. Anybody else? What is ethics? Okay, ideal human behavior. Okay. How do you decide ethics? When we normally say ethical, means what? Yeah, basically, the main focus on the word called right. Okay, here the word right is obviously not to be confused with the socio-political rights and duties wala right. This is right, as in right and wrong wala right. It's a problem with English language, but it's okay. Because right and left, and there is another meaning of left, you know. When you eat some and leave someone, it is called left food, like that. So right means, okay, how would you decide something is right? Okay, can there be a situation where society thinks it is right, but you don't think? Example. Society thinks it is right, you think it is wrong. I got your point. Yes, that is also a good example. Yes, anything else? Child marriage, not now, but yes, once upon time. Dowry, once upon time. Yes, very good. Oh yeah, homosexuality, same-sex marriage. Yes. So all of you consider same-sex marriage as right. Okay. No, I have no issue about it. That we'll discuss later. Yes, next. Yes. Yes, before marriage. Relationship before marriage. That's what you're saying. Basically, relationship, there is no doubt of. There is no ban on relationship, right? The live-in relationship, as in marriage, is also live-in relationship. You live together in a relationship. Only thing is, it is before sacrament. So ultimately, live-in relationship, marriage is also live-in relationship, technically. Okay. So it's all about sanction of the society. Marriage means a relationship which is sanctioned by the society. That's okay. Anything else that you think, you also think ethical and society also thinks ethical. You consider that ethical. So honesty, okay, not lying, not stealing, okay, compassion toward weaker section. Anybody here thinks that no, compassion is useless thing? Everybody thinks, everybody thinks it is right. So some aspect that you have, they are ethical for you also and ethical for society also. Some aspects are ethical for you, but not perhaps ethical for the society. Like society in general, we cannot say it all everywhere, but some chunk of society considers to be vegetarian as something ethically superior. Yes or no? You may not consider that way. Yes or no? Some of you may consider, but some of you might choose that as a health issue. But as far as ethicality is concerned, you may not agree to it, right? So every decision that you take, every aspect of your life is heavily impacted by something called ethics. Here, generally, ethics is defined as it's a set of principles, set of values, set of moral standards, set of right and wrong. There are different definitions. Basically, as a system, like your ethics, my ethics, here the word ethics means set of principles that I follow in my life. Like most of you, I'm saying, not some of you, most of you must be certainly considering being on time or before as really something to be valued, something to be ethical, as against not to be on time as unethical. That means what are you doing? Punctuality is to be considered by you, most of you, is as an ethical value. So you are like, if you tell someone that I'll be there at 11 and you reaching there 10:59, is actually following an ethical standard. That it's again, these are simple examples. Why? Because the predictability, the consistency, and the impact of your behavior on the other side. Because whenever ethics comes into picture, there is always more than one. How many of you do not agree? Can there be ethics if you are the only person concerned? I am claiming that ethicality can come into picture only when there are more than one. How many of you agree, do not agree? Yes. Yes, we'll come to it. But then, why it is unethical? Yeah, okay, you are saying even if it is about you killing yourself, there is still test of ethicality for that. It's okay, we'll come to it, the suicide and all. Tell me, how many of you agree that whenever there is this concept of ethicality is there is always more than one? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Okay, now kind of either agree or disagree. How many of you agree that yes, more than one only more than one is the basic requirement for ethics to come into picture at all. No, I'm not talking about, obviously, I'm not talking about physically you being near the other person. In the ethical consideration, yes. So because the actions have impact on others, we can discuss about ethicality about it. Can your action not impacting others be ethically judged? In what way it is ethical or unethical? I just want to skip all the, I just want to skip lunch and dinner, and I just renounce all the food, which is going to impact my body very, I'm not even drinking water for that matter. So it is detrimental to my body. Is it unethical? Yeah, that is because this is impacting them. Though I am doing it for me, something that enhances somebody else's suffering is unethical. So generally, pain and suffering is the best criteria. Suffering or what? Pain. Suffering is a better word. Is the best criteria to judge something is ethical or unethical. So ultimate, again, yesterday also we talked about it. What is the basic by default inclination of any human being? To increase the pain or to reduce the pain? Anybody here want to increase the pain? Okay. Can there be any situation where people want to increase the pain and not reduce the pain? No, no, pain of others, pain of your own pain. Obviously, increasing others' pain is unethical. That's why the example that you gave, police brutality, is considered unethical. Though it has some utility, oh, that's a different discussion as to how much utility and how much pain you are causing. Otherwise, why would we talk about human rights? Even in jail, you should not torture. That is basically based on the same logic that let's not enhance anybody's pain. So, what is the basic yardstick that you apply for deciding whether my decision is right or wrong? Yes. Anything that I do to the extent possible. I'm not even bringing in practicality here. I'm bringing in ethics as a theoretical foundation, theoretical basis. So anything that enhances others' suffering is unethical. Theoretically, anything that reduces others' suffering, that is ethical. Okay, anybody want to contest this? So if now anybody asks you, how can you define ethics? This happens in our discussions also. How can something be considered ethical and unethical? Sometimes situation is so complex, it's very difficult to decide. Half of our paper at GS4 is about this situation where you are not able to decide only. Most of the theory questions are also on the tune of dilemma, conflict, and all. So, how would you decide in paper also and otherwise in your life also that whatever I am doing is good or ethical or unethical? The yardstick is whatever I am doing, is it going to reduce the suffering of others? Then it is desirable, that is ethical. If I'm doing whatever I'm doing, contemplating something is going to enhance the suffering of someone, it is unethical. Simple. Is it difficult to follow your life on this principle? Yes. Yeah, that's the basic problem. Yes, you're absolutely right. That's the dilemma. Now you have to decide at least, see, choose either A or B. A may increase, B also may increase sufferings, and you have no choice but A and B. What would you do? At least choose something which least increment in suffering. Most of you might have heard the very famous talisman of Gandhiji. Have you heard this word talisman? Something, some thumb rule in your moral ethical life, something that you go back to if anywhere, whenever you are in dilemma. What is that talisman? Anybody knows? Very good. Yes. Yes, very good. Antyodaya. Antyodaya is a then kind of a model of a philosophy that he developed on the basic talisman, like the basic philosophy, basic thought. What is the talisman? Says, whenever you are in doubt or you are contemplating on whatever you are doing is right or wrong, just bring the face of poorest of the poor that you have seen and think whatever you are doing is of any use or is going to kind of contribute to his life or her life, then do it. Otherwise, do not do it. So now, please write talisman of Gandhi and some things that you need to kind of, I would suggest, most of the NCERTs would have this, I guess. Yes. Now, how much direct, how much indirect impact, that's more complexities. We'll see, because most of the administration work will be like that. So it's not that, see, there is one thing to be ethical in your intention. Other thing is to actually implement that intention in a practical situation where there will be complexity. So what you're saying that you're earning something, it is impacting someone else. So it depends on how much moral courage you have. There are people, you know this, there are people who are really concerned about environment. They actually stop using any plastic in their life personally because they think that there is a direct impact of my using plastic on. Or some people stop using flights for any travel that they have. At least they will say that to the extent possible, I'll use least polluting vehicles, least polluting transportation. So ethics, always to start off with, is a theoretical basis, ideal basis. And what is the basis? Whatever I am doing, is it going to reduce the suffering of the others or increase the suffering of the others? Now, this I am saying you because whenever you are in confusion, always come back to this. This will happen in your life also and also in the GS4, that you might be in some kind of confusion. Should I do this? Should I do that? Sometimes what happens, your intuition may tell you something else. Your, initial inclination will be something else. But when you go in, take this suffering torch in your hand, the torch of this law called reduce the suffering of the others, and go in deep, you realize that my decision was wrong. So what I'm trying to say is, for life also, and basically for this, why I'm saying Gandhi's talisman is, whenever there is a situation, whenever there is, you're writing answer, and also in ethics essay by them. So it's better for you to have this thing handy with you in life also as an administrator, because always you think what to do. You just tell yourself, whatever I'm doing is going to help the last person or the least privileged person, yes, then do it. Otherwise, do not do it. Whenever in trouble, not always. Otherwise, you know what to do, because sometimes complexities in the situation expect you to do something else. But when you go in deep of that particular thing, and for that you need fortitude, because sometimes what happens, you decide something like this, people going vegan. You might have heard about them. Now, most of us will think that what is this? This is really impracticable thing to do. Yes, how many of you think that vegan is impracticable? Be honest, because I'm sure most of you will be depending your calcium supplement for depending on milk for your calcium supplement. Yes, how many of you are here are vegans? One. Only one person is vegan. What about others then? So obviously you are compromising, which is okay. I'm not kind of morally judging you, but I'm saying, you know, theoretically, it is better to not enhance the pain of even milching animals. Yes or no? Yes or no? Ethicality about non-vegetarian also this. Ethicality. Now, whether it is scientific, not scientific, what will happen if every person on the planet becomes vegan? That's different practical issue. We are discussing ethically, can you justify non-vegetarianism? How? Difficult. Because difficult. I'm not saying unjustifiable. We are not getting into the particular debate of what are the points both the sides have. And I'm not here going to kind of tell or quote unquote preach you that be vegetarian. There is no point. We are not here to discuss that. Everybody has their choice. The point is, there is ethicality. So point I'm saying is, in principle, we know, let's not pain animals. Now, what's the problem with paining animals or increase suffering? Most of you are non-vegetarian. You know why? Because those people have never seen actual process of slaughtering. Many of my friends have turned not vegan but vegetarians after watching some documentaries on slaughterhouse. And you are like, this is what comes to me, because when it comes to your plate, it's a food item. It's simple. But when you see what's happening, it's actually very difficult. Again, I'm not suggesting anything. That's how it happens. And then we realize that are we doing it for something that is very inherent for our survival? So that also we know that no, it's not the case. Because in fact, nowadays it is going ulta because of the adulteration and all. It is causing the negative impact on you. Another thing, that our life is not as physically active as it was. So much of protein requirement, unless you're a professional athlete, you're not required. But that's another debate. Ethically, it is still wrong. So now it's like, yes, it is ethically wrong, and I'm trying to accommodate my life to the extent possible. And that's the reason we say, to go to the extreme of ethicality, even in administration, it needs a lot of moral courage. Because you said it is not practical. How can you talk about, vegetarian and vegan? Same is the case when you go to administration. It is very difficult not to be part of corrupt chains. Because on an average, a lot of gimmicks happen there. So there also you need moral courage. That's why somebody gave example of 𝐂𝐭 𝐖𝐢𝐭 yesterday. Because he is the example of that particular thing where everything is so hostile. And that too, if you be part of the flow, you will be of benefit. If you go against flow, you will lose the money also, and you have to swim against the flow also. So it is not that easy, but it is desirable. So the debate is always between these two. What is desirable? And how much courage do you have to do the desirable? That's all. Like, how many of you want to be All India Rank 1? Only. No, others, they have some different number. How many of you want not to be part of the list? Obviously, no one. As obvious as that. So everybody here want to be all India rank 1, and it is absolutely perfect, okay. In fact, it is admirable to really think that. Don't underestimate yourself for that. I'm not saying keep predicting and keep, dreaming in some la-la land. I'm not saying that, but that conviction has to be there. Now, given a chance, I will study in such a way that I will try for the moon at least. I will end up in stars, like that. You know that quote, right? So, but that is ideal. That's the best possible thing. And you would try to reach there. Yes or no? So you might be thinking there are some numbers, no? 400 plus engineers, something like that, or 450, whatever. People keep targets. 300 plus in optional, yes or no? 200 in interview, like that. I don't know this number, maybe because of the ethics. Now this number might have already increased. But 425, something like that, some target. What is this target? Most desirable thing. And then what happens? Actual numbers? Obviously lesser than that. Some would be very, very less than that. What I'm trying to say is there is always has to be some ideal in front of you. And you certainly have an ideal in front of you. Everybody must be idealizing someone. Point here is, when it comes to ethics also, there are some set of principles, set of values. You also know honesty, integrity, compassion, transparency, responsibility, initiative, leading by example, humble, soft-spoken, receptive. So many good qualities. Your effort is to kind of have that ethical moral stamina, especially in adverse situations. So ethics is also like that. In that context, that talisman was, right? So I was asking you to write the talisman, right? Verbatim, there are some things I recommend for you to by heart verbatim. Number one, how many of you know preamble verbatim? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good number. Others, please literally by heart it. We, the people of India, yes, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, political, economic, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, and fraternity to ensure, yes, status, equality, status of origin, that I skipped. To promote among them all unity and integrity, dignity of individual, with maintaining something. The word I skipped, I am not able to remember. Dignity of the individual on this 26th day of November 1949 to adopt, enact, and give ourselves to this constitution. Please by heart this. This is of great help. You may not be required to write start to end in one place, but whenever required, in essay, in paper 2, in ethics, okay, you can just write from like unity and integrity of the nation, maintaining the dignity of the individual. So dignity of the individual. Now dignity is very important concept in ethics. We'll come to it how and why dignity is important. So this you need to be kind of by-hearted. Second is 7 sins of Gandhi. What are the 7 sins of Gandhi? Not 7 sins of Gandhi, 7 sins of public life according to Gandhi. Yes. You might have heard this, right? 7 sins. And by the way, there was a question for 10 marker on exactly this. 7 sins in public life according to Mahatma Gandhi. politics without principle, commerce without morality, pleasure without conscience, religion without sacrifice, others नहीं पता. But have you heard that there is something called seven sins in public life? What are these seven sins? Basically, what he's trying to say. So whenever there is pleasure, yes, that they will increase the suffering. Yes, there has to be conscience as to I am enjoying this aspect, but whether it is according to my own right and wrong. So you might have heard this guilty pleasures word term, or some of the food items nowadays they are talking about guilt free. Have you heard this? This is a new trend, fad, I would say, not trend, fad. What is guilt free food? It's very interesting thing here. It's a psychological gimmick they're playing on you. See, now because we'll come to it, the seven sins. And anyway, later on also in human values, we'll discuss in detail also. By now, you can check and note it down. Only thing is what I'm saying, whatever coming to my mind now, so that you can, by heart it, because it will be a great help. And 1 year though they had asked question, and this is the kind of question they can repeat. Coming back to the guilt thing, because you have some standard, your own principles, standards, regulations. When you break the regulation, always you feel bad about yourself. Be it coming on time, be it submitting the test. Most of you are not able to submit the test, you feel guilty. In the same way, you have some, principles for your own eating habits. I will not have this. I will not have this. Less sugar, no carbohydrate. And then you happen to have pav bhaji. And then you're like, you had everything that oil also, carbohydrate also, everything. And that too, all maida, no flour. So point is, whenever you have standards and you violate it, you get into guilt. Some standards are decided and directed to you by society. Some standard would be accepted by you, some standard would not be accepted by you. And we'll come to it how Kant, tells about this as to from where this ethicality is coming. Why other animals don't think of ethicality? If I kill someone, if I kill the deer, tiger is saying, so deer's life is gone. So I'm taking away somebody's life for my sake. This is not good. Tiger won't get into this discussion, would he? There is this famous saying in Hindi, no? घोड़ा अगर घास से दोस्ती करेगा तो खाएगा क्या? So if the horse starts befriending the food, whatever food, grass, whatever you want to call it, what would you eat? What would you eat? Because when physical survival comes into picture, there is no ethicality, even for the human being. That's the reason yesterday we talked about one example. When somebody puts gun on your head and you are forced to do something, then you are out of the ethicality test, right? You are not to be checked on the basis of ethicality, unethicality and all that, right? Yes. So we were talking about ethics. So technically most of the times they have not asked questions like that. They have asked values and all. But what do you understand by ethics? तो अभी तक नहीं पूछा है, but they can ask. Okay, and notes में तो आपको मिल जाएगा. Ethics is a system of moral principles. Okay, what's the difference between ethics and morality? You might have heard this debate. No? Okay, very good. See, first of all, There is no difference per se, as in, they are not going to ask questions. This difference doesn't qualify to be a typical 10 marker in examination. What is the difference between ethics and morality? Again, you are getting into the trap of unnecessary theorizing things. But for sake of understanding, we should know what ethics and what morality is. Generally, when you when you consider some behavior as standard in a particular group, or by virtue of becoming that group, a part of that group. So it's like this. Something that group has, particular group, because how many groups you will be a member of? Many. There will be some professional group, there will be some family group, there will be some friends group. There will be in the profession also, there are different professions, different. So that's why the word professional ethics is used. Generally, professional morality shabd is never used. The word professional morality is never used. Professional ethics. Because any particular group, practical group, would have their own, what we can say, set of principles. But I'm not talking about legal aspect. Obviously, law, though, there will be legal thing. Like in this group, as students here, obviously to be on time is professional ethics for you also and for me also. Obviously, there is no legal action going to happen. But it is unethical for me, for you, to not follow punctuality. So most of the time, punctuality is generally considered to be one of the universal professional ethics. That most of the professions that we work in, punctuality is always there. Honesty to वैसे universal. Anyway, it is universal. So the source of that set, the principle, because both are guiding you. Most of the time, these words are taken as the same. So don't take it too seriously. Don't take the difference too seriously. Most of the time, these two words would be taken as same thing, interchangeably. So don't, again, if somebody is using morality, unnecessarily, no need to expect that, no, there has to be ethics word here. Most of the time, they'll use different things, like constitutional morality. Have you heard this word? There was question also twice. We'll come to that also later. So, ethics is when you're part of the group, there is an expectation, there is a set of principles that the group has agreed upon. And hence, it is part of your set of principles. In morality is more intimate. Moral things are that is more personal to you. So, even if you are not part of a particular group, you still will follow that. Because it is about you, not because you are part of some member, a group of, member of some group. So, that's why morality is considered to be more intense or intimate. You cannot, ethical things you can still deviate and have lesser guilt. Morality, if you deviate, you have stronger guilt. It is more intense. So whenever the word morality is coming, you should consider that it is very important for that person's existence. Ethics, obviously, the person only will follow, but it would be, there is a sense of practicality in ethics. The group will have ethics. Individual will have morality. Like, now, the best way to explain this example is when a particular individual has a different take on a particular stand as against the group of which he is part. Then this dilemma comes out. Otherwise, both are always in sync. Like you being here, honesty is important. Otherwise, also for you, honesty is important. So some are universal values. Like, but just imagine you are Ram Mohan Rai and you are becoming part of a group. Now, in that group, if some lady's husband is died, it is unethical for that lady to continue her life, because then it is assumed that her character will be maligned. It is very difficult for her, because you cannot marry someone else, because that is further unethical, because this is directly done in Swarg and Seven Janma and all that. So you cannot marry someone else. So then you are doing something unethical. And to alive without being married is all the more difficult. So it was decided by the group of that time. Everybody, by the way, don't say that only males sat together and decided. That was the morality of the group together. It's not political decision. There are misconceptions because of the narrative that, this patriarchy brigade, that all male of ancient worlds, sat together somewhere in Geneva or somewhere and decided that let's exploit women tomorrow onwards. Nothing of that sort has happened. It happened to be like that, which obviously is irrelevant today. And we have to come over it, get over it. Coming back to the point. So when that group was considering very noble for a lady whose husband has died to self-immolate herself. Now, it was well accepted in some part, not all across India. Most of you know, southern part of India, there is nothing called sati. In history also, you know this. Western part of India also, there are very less, 1 or 2 incidences in history. Only eastern part of India, there are instances of sati. But for us, it's a good example. So in that group, it was kind of decided or concluded, I would say, that this is ethical behavior for a woman to do. Because anyway, see, when you are clearly convinced that there is next janam, so why would you wait here and kind of wait yourself to get into unethical activities? Isn't it logical? Provided the starting point is strong belief that there is next janam. Yes or no? This next janam, whenever it comes to your mind, always bring an analogy of your next attempt. How many of you think, is baar to I'm not able to prepare, I see, next time अच्छे से prepare करो. Most of you might be new, so you might not have experienced this. Whenever the chance of next, you are relaxed in this. Yes, this happens with 80% of the students, because especially those who go for mains, I get to interact with almost everyone, because immediately after mains, they come to me for an interview. So they say that, sir, is baar, it is just like that, I have to prepare again. Anyway, coming back to when the strong point is there, strong belief is there that there is next janam, why would you wait when this janam has already been spoiled? That's the logic. So that's why accepted by everyone. So people went, did that. Now, after that is done, somebody is saying that no, it is wrong, because he has his own value system. His value system is coming from individual dignity. Whatever it is, individual dignity is center for me. Forget about, even if it is Punarjama, no problem. My individual dignity, my survival, because no other species self-immolates. So naturally also, human being has no reason to self-immolate for whatever reasons. So whatever thing he came up with, now what happened? His morality and the ethics of that time came in conflict. 95% there won't be conflict. 95% he also would be agreeing many things to what society was telling that time. Most of the reformers, we know, not that they denounce everything. No. They took up 1 or 2 issues till the end. Rest of the place, they lived the same life as the others. You know this. We only generally have perception that reformers means everything new that they came up with. No. So Ram Mohan Roy also, he did whatever is required. Suddenly, He did not distribute all his wealth to poor. He was a jamidar. He was an aristocrat. But this aspect he took it to the logical conclusion. Then 1837, 39 somewhere, the 29, the act came. Correct? Which act? Sati abolition. Point is, whenever they are in conflict, we know that how they are different. Because from inside him, it was very difficult for him to accept or see whatever is happening in front of him. Though the group was like, there is nothing to discuss and debate. Why are you promoting unethicality? Same is the case with homosexuality. Before 2016, somewhere, 16, 17, when Delhi High Court came up with, Section 377 was not just ethical, it was a legal principle that it is unnatural, it is criminal. Now it is changing. So, why it took that change? Because some individual's morality said something else. So, morality springs from the inner conscience of an individual. And stronger the force is, more would be the influence of that individual on society's morality. That's why somebody like Gandhi, just imagine when everything is exploitation, everything is happening, he is still thinking about non-violence. It is very difficult. We are not able to understand now. Obviously, we respect, we, kind of give a lot of, consider him a great personality. That is all there. But try to understand, in that era, when people are dying out because of famines, he is still thinking about, it's okay, but we'll go ahimsa on. Right and wrong, I'm not talking. Practically, right and wrong, ahimsa cannot be wrong. Practically, it can be wrong sometimes because the other side is useless. But as a principle, everybody agrees. In ethics paper, would you ever say that ahimsa can be debated as ethical principle? Ahimsa is always ethical principle. Buddhism, Jainism, everybody categorically mentions ahimsa. You know this one? Because there was a question on Buddha also. Maybe tomorrow question will be on Mahavir. Last time there was quote of Guru Nanak. So please, notes mein sabka hai. So please start paying attention to these thoughts. Though these kind of thoughts, perhaps Tiruvalluvar also. Most of these Tamilians might know more than us. So because they are great people, they came up with a new set of morality, which is so convincing that you cannot contradict. Okay. Point I was saying is, when individuals come with a strong moral conviction, they actually change the course of society's morality. This itself can be a good question, comment. When individuals come with a strong moral conviction, they have or they influence the society's course of ethics. Okay? Yes. Yeah. So now Johar was never... See here, what is the... There are every practice has two aspects. One is the practical aspect and one is the theoretical aspect. That is the basic philosophy behind. What is the philosophy behind Johar? That the dignity/modesty of women is uncompromisable. For that, they will choose death over dignity. If this is the philosophical basis, you cannot deny it. But what happened with Sati? Maybe when Sati started, somebody would have done it out of a lot of self-inspiration only. But when it becomes a system, then that society, where is the sociology person? So they know it better. Then, or anybody who has sociology, anthropology optional, they know better. That then it becomes dictation of the society. That thing will continue happening. But especially Johar, whatever history we know, majorly happened in the northeast part, northwestern part, sorry, wherever invasions and things happen. So And that did not continue, as in whenever the situation went away, criticism started against it. Because see, whenever society works, society doesn't work like a click of the button. If something becomes practice, it takes a lot of efforts to reverse it. What do you think, especially Buddha, Mahavir, Kabir, Guru Nanak, Basveshwar, what did these people do? They sacrificed all of their life just to change some part of the society. Otherwise, society's flow always remains because people follow whatever is happening. We are slightly getting into the sociology now. This is not ethics per se, but at least these people should be, these are the kind of personalities you should be acquainted with. We should be going back and read something about them. Because what questions will come, you never know. And what you may require to quote from them, you never know. So better whatever personalities that I might be seeing, almost all of them will be part of the notes. But even that, more than that, I would request that on that day you just go and read about very basic things. What is their contribution? Just note it somewhere, and that's all. Because that flow, then you will always, it's always easy for you to remember about that. Anyway, so what I was talking about Johar, just this thing is that the practice's basis was philosophical and it had a moral this thing. But when it becomes dictation by the society, then it becomes exploited. This is exactly what we are going to, because something starts means there must be something that might have worked then. Otherwise, why would somebody do that? And why it is not happening in other part of India? Wars happened all across India. Why only Rajasthan and Haryana? Most of the places it is happening. So there has a social basis to it. And if you want to bring it, ethicality of it, this dignity principle, but then when something overlives it, it becomes kind of exploitative, basically. Yes. See, dignity is never a social construct. I'll tell you. Now, this I'm kind of, playing with the words a little bit. I'll tell you how. The word dignity is a proper philosophical concept. In the notes that you have received, there must be that some definition, some explanation of word dignity in some second last page or last page somewhere. If not, then you can just write it when I'm saying. Hai na? There are these are just some words for you to. What is dignity? So basically, dignity is sense of self-worth. If it is not written in their notes, please mention there itself. If it is, this word is not used. It is there, no? Sense of self-worth. As it is, don't change any. Sense of self-worth. Now, every human being has some sense of self-worth. Means what? Some value to yourself. Now, it is inherent. Now, according to Kant, because Kant basically came up with the strong foundation of this particular concept called dignity, he says this concept is coming from the a priori nature. Don't get into these technical words. I'm just telling you because this is exactly the word that he used. Philosophy may we study this. A priori means it is just there, inherent. There is no reason behind that. Like why Big Bang? Big Bang, that's all. From there are why and how. It's a starting point. There is no reason behind because we don't have any knowledge like why, what was before Big Bang. Like that. It is the starting point. Why? There is no why there. Yes, making sense? Is it making sense? Though it is counterintuitive because normally science may, everything has to have some why, some reason. But it's okay. Like that, he used the word a priori. So a priori means that's how our mind is. That's how our brain, mind, whatever you want to call it, Kant is saying. And through that flows the concept of dignity. So dignity is not something that you learn from outside. But this sense of self-worth is a very colorless kind of fluid, like water or something like that. It's a very basic small point in a way. It has many different practical manifestations. Why do you think in fundamental duty it is mentioned that modesty of women? Why not modesty of human? Why only women's modesty is important? We protest, half of the public here. It's a society, and that's how society is. But for all this, somebody having respect, somebody having modesty, somebody having some worth, somebody having its dignity, it is basically flowing from the inherent structure of mind, is the word used by Kant. Inherent structure of mind. You might have heard this word called categorical imperative. No need to, like, this we will study later on also. Categorical imperative. So his whole morality is based on this concept called categorical imperative. So dignity, we'll come to it later, deontology, utilitarian, and all that. So what Kant is saying, that dignity is there, that's all. Why, how? No, that sense of self-worth is there. Now, through what all practical situations you want to express or manifest your sense of worth is changing according to society. So what you are saying is correct, that you learn from society the practical manifestation techniques and situations, but the inherent sense is anyway there. Whichever society you go, every human has some sense of dignity. They may express it in a different way. Right? Okay. Yes. Fabricated as in, you mean to say? See, now imposition of the society is not wrong, but you see it from this point of view. Now, just imagine there are places where fundamental duties are justiciable, like duty to vote. There is a demand that voting should be made compulsory. Now, most of us would say, why? Right? Now, point is, why, like, for example, is it compulsory for you to have Aadhaar? Is it compulsory for you to have registration that you exist, your birth registration? Why? If your parents say, we don't want to register, that's because after doing it, you get enormous amount of benefits from this field and society. So if you are in conformity with society, society will come to your rescue whenever you are in problem. That's a social contract, it is called. Sociology people might know, or they might correct me if I am going here and there a little bit. So you agree to follow some rules of society because society is always there to protect you. Now, modern expression of society's will is state. Now, complexities create different issues because state would have their own vested interest and all that complexity. We get into sociology and political science. Point is, when you say society is dictating, it's basically you are agreeing the dictation of the society because you have some other interests. There is a movement of some people who call themselves as stateless people. Stateless. So they belong to no state, no citizenship. And there has been some movement that please, international community to give some space for us. You can call them anarchist. because they agree to no state. 100 people staying together or whatever you want, extreme freedom. The way they want to live, let them live. Many criticize that to be just a romantic idea. You know, if they're allowed to do it for 50 years, they'll come up with state. Because when things get stabilized, I would not say stagnant, but stabilized, what happens? Newer and newer rules come up. So that's why the main force of reformation, even today and since Renaissance, has been, it's okay whatever society it is. We don't want to just throw away everything. We want this reform. We want this reform. And by one after the other reform, especially with respect to the marginalized sections, we have reached till at least here. It's not end, but we want to reach somewhere, some better place. Okay, so point is, things do, like society do impact the individual, certainly, but individual also would have their own moral sense. That's why those who are, in Indian context especially, those who can go, who can analyze, who can experience the core of any individual's experience or core of human existence, which we normally in India call as spirituality. Those are the ones who actually came up with newer morality, in India especially, isn't it? Most of the bigger shocks, bigger transformations that India has seen culturally in morality, they all have been the great spiritual leaders of the example that I talked about. Because in India, it is considered that if you really want to change the morality, you have to go to the basic of human existence spiritually, not physically. Because morality is flowing from within. Society is just an expression of it. That's why different society has different morality. But still, there are some basic thought. That's why honesty, whichever society it is, honesty is considered to be a great value. Compassion. Somebody is weak, somebody is powerful. It is always considered that the powerful should help the weak to reduce his suffering. Getting the point? So what I'm saying is, for whatever reasons, dignity of individual, sense of self-worth flows from a priori form, which is inherent, that can have different expressions in the society. That's the only difference. So you can say in that way, this is the practical expression of moral standards. But again, individual standards might be different, and then the whole story already, right? So we were just concluding what is ethics, then set of principles, set of right and wrong, or set of standards that society places on itself. It is discipline based on logical justification of human action. That is also there. It is there in the notes. Whatever I'm reading is from the notes. Whatever is not there in the notes, and if I speak, you can better is to mention on the note itself. Because I will not be telling you some big notes, no, because it's already there. But any new thing, you can always mention there only, and then go and improve it. So, okay. Why study ethics? You already know. On the basis of whatever discussion we had till now, why do we study ethics? Yesterday we discussed that only half of the time. Everybody should say something, especially those who feel sleepy, because this is not sleepy classes. This is LevelUp IAS. So you have to level your standard up. Anyway, jokes. Don't take me. Yes. Why ethics? Why study ethics? Yesterday I have spent so much of energy of my throat on this. Yes, good. To develop the, yes, all the situations you are saying. Candidates. Okay. Yes. For our examination. No, see, our examination, yes, we are studying ethics so that we should get 150 plus in ethics. That's okay. Why this ethics as in ethics stream? What are the, okay, what is, what are the benefits of being ethical? I'm saying not individually. Why society should discuss and propagate and talk about so much ethicality? What does society get out of it? Yes. So yes, corruption also. Basically, order. So decrease the chaos means maintain the order. Because what will happen then? Everybody start, fighting, killing, whatever. Selfish. Then consistency in behavior. So smooth functioning, because see how smooth it is that you are not required to call every day 12 o'clock to me and ask when is the class. Are you going to really come on the that's the same time? Are you not going to ditch us? Please confirm today. Nothing. I value punctuality. I know you value punctuality. I have some professional ethics. You have some professional ethics. I know that it won't be the case that I am here and nobody is coming because हमारा mood नहीं है. ऐसा नहीं होगा because you will also come. It's your professional ethics also from that point of. I'm just giving the example of this, but there in other, like especially administration, it is all the more expected, right? Isn't it that it is expected from an officer to come up with solution, problem solving? Otherwise, like, it's okay, I know it's a problem, but what can I do? I cannot do anything here. This is unethical, you know this. Not doing something is unethical for an administration because salary kiski milti? For what you are getting the money for? And that's why in administration, slight digression, but I'm telling you, it is it is a 24-hour job. You know this. You can never say, especially if you're IAS, IPS, act theoretically, not practical situation. Conduct rules say this. Even if you, like for example, I'll tell you what incident also what happened. So you are 24/7 available. Your availability is given, you are agreed upon in written to the government. So you cannot say that, see, I know the riot is happening, but it's 8 o'clock in the evening. I will visit the place tomorrow 9 o'clock in the morning. Next minute, you will receive a termination letter. And this has happened to one person, you know this. In one of the recent, not exactly like this. Even if you want to, like, you are posted in Ghaziabad as DM. Good, no? Happy? Good, no? Obviously good. And work is going on. You happen to go to Gurgaon for something, to meet your friend or something. And something happened in Ghaziabad. Some minor, but not very minor, some law and order issue. You will be suspended only because you did not submit this something called station leave. There is something called station leave. Why? Because you cannot leave the station also without permission of your commissioner. Because 21. So it's not something, that's why it's a good idea. Government job is very different theoretically, morally, ethically from any private job. People, do it in a different way, but it's first of all not a job, not an employment. It's a service. One more interesting thing. So this happened, I don't remember the person, somebody from Bihar cadre, somebody from Maharashtra in Bihar cadre came to Maharashtra and something happened and he was suspended. And he had just come because 2-3 days, 1 or 2 days he had come for. And he can actually come. Only thing is he forgot to mention the station. So technically, these things happen. So what I was talking about? Service. Anything else? No. Yeah, employment issue. Yes. Being an IS officer or IPS or whatever, you cannot go on strike for whatever demands you have. You know this? You know this. You cannot go on strike. Strike, protest, हमारी मांगे पूरी करो. Yes. Do they have union? No. Class 1 officer cannot be part of the union. Class 2 and onwards, they can have unions. Why? Because employee means there is employer. Employee means there is employer. An employee protest means protesting against employer. When the unions are made by government employees, they will demand against government only. But problem here is, you are government. You are not employee of the government. You are technically not allowed. You cannot go to the court that I have my right to protest. No, you do not have. If like you make a union of IAS, there are lobbies. They do it discreetly. You cannot protest. That's why you don't see 10 IAS people standing or 1,000 IAS people protesting against government. Whom you are protesting against? Secretary is also IAS, cabinet secretary is IAS, whom you are protesting against. You're getting the point. That's why this is just additional information. You cannot protest. Even PSUs, because I was working with Bharat Petroleum, there I had signed, because there also in PSU I was officer grade. You cannot protest. Employee can protest, officer cannot protest. And you are government. You are actually not nothing else. You are government yourself. The point is, this 24/7, you are government. There is nothing called 9 to 6. That is because this is service, not job. And that is also based on this ethical principle that it's a responsibility. Okay, if something happens to you, okay, you start coughing in the night or start having fever in the evening. Can your mother say, tomorrow I'll see, not now, because I'm done now. My work hours are over. No, why? It's not give and take. It's a responsibility that she is having towards you. Same is the case you also would. Like if your mother is not ill, obviously you'll also take care. Like that, government, it's considered to be a responsibility. Why I'm saying this? Because in the service also and in writing answers also, you should always keep this thing in mind. You are government. You are responsible. So responsibility is like inherent to you. You cannot say that I am taking the responsibility. No, you are taking salary. Responsibility to aap hoi. That's why in government, it is never performance based. The money is never given on the basis of performance. You know this. Now, some people say that it is really disincentivizing. Others say that, see, there is a philosophical basis to this. Because whether you get the salary or you do not get the salary, as long as your employee, as long as your officer, servant, civil servant, you agree that you will work. You know that tomorrow, if government reduces your salary, you cannot protest. Internal protesting will happen. You can't go to the court. Technically, because you agree upon everything that you are only government, so you cannot do it. That the basic is, so please try to understand the kind of responsibility that you are holding. Never compare that with any other job where I would have got this and that. And that's the reason you get so much respect. Because people assume that that's what you're going to do. Most of us do also. They are really doing good work. That's the reason country is also going ahead. You know many examples of officers. So, okay, why? Okay, then why ethics? Because this aspect has to be very much kind of ingrained, entrenched into the administration also. So basically, the whole effort is for us, for our this thing, is to bring in more and more ethicality in administrative function. Okay. Yes, we were talking about why ethics in society. So order and basic thing is this dignity. Now, dignity does not have any reason. Dignity is. So we have to respect the dignity of others. Every human being has to be given equal value. You know this, without the concept of dignity, there is no philosophical backing for equality. Why people should be treated equally? Because everyone has equal dignity. And respecting the dignity of others is your moral responsibility. We do it normally. We also take care that whatever we say, we do, somebody else's dignity is not violated. Yes. Okay. Now, this aspect, ethicality, what would you comment about the relation between ethics and religion then? This aspect, like why ethics we studied, mota mota, what it is. So how would you, what would you say about ethics and religion? One by one, yes. Religion. Okay, yes. Somebody else is saying something. Very good. So it's an instrument, it's an institution, it's a agency, it's an arrangement to practically implement the ethics. Now, who is the practical agency today? State, constitution basically. Though religion is part of it, but now who is higher? Now this change from religion to constitution. Now here constitution means whom? Human beings. Religion means whom? God. So from this shift from God to human, religion to constitution is called humanism. Is a result of Renaissance. Is a result of enlightenment. That's why people say theocentric to anthropocentric, God-centric to human-centric. And whenever it is human-centric, then automatically science comes into picture. Or rather, because science came into picture, the God aspect started becoming sidelined because the things that God was saying started getting disproven. So, constitutional morality, religious morality. In between, there is something called traditional morality. Some people use the word social morality. It's not correct. Morality is always social in that context, because if there is no society, for whom would you be moral or ethical? There has to be more than one. We already discussed. So traditionally flown morality, constitutional morality. So the debate of the constitutional morality actually started when traditional morality started becoming obsolete in front of or in the light of modern scientific inventions, modern scientific thought. So traditional morality started becoming obsolete in the light of modern scientific thought, which gave rise to constitutional morality. So now you understand. So don't just wish away religion as something 100% evil. It is not. Because if not for religion, we could have fought each other and killed each other long before as a human beings. We would have been extinct. More the population, more is the organization required. More is the system required. Have you felt this? If there are only 5 students in the class, much system is not required. I know them personally, 5. But when 100 people, then we need system. What time? What is the, from where would I get the notes? From where would I get whatever? So whenever the larger thing has to be catered to, you need systems. And these are nothing but systems only. Religion is also system. Only thing is it's a pre-Renaissance system. That's the importance of Renaissance. You know already history. Enlightened period is not just a European enlightenment. It's actually considered to be enlightened from the world also, to some extent. We don't know because there are repercussions to the countries like India in the form of colonization and exploitation. But still, at least as far as thought is concerned, we owe something to the Renaissance and European enlightenment. Anyway, yeah. No. source of ethics is like not dignity, but this, what we can say, a priori categorical imperative that everybody has. Now, science is about arranging that on the, see, science always helps you practically. Science never helps you philosophically. Science will never tell you why Big Bang. Science will say, now I don't know, I'll tell you later. But till that time, I will die. So some answer that science do not give, and those answers are inherent in you, by the way. You can neglect it, you can suppress them under the force of material pleasures. That's what we are doing it by now, for now. That's another debate you're opening up, philosophy, materialism, and this thing. But I'm just giving you the clue that all the existential questions that everybody has, we have been trained to sideline / suppress it under the force of material pleasures. I'm not saying it right and wrong, because everybody has this sense of emptiness, however rich you are, however resourceful you are. Then again, there are arguments from the other side also. Let's not get into it, because then it becomes a big debate. Okay. But science per se cannot be considered to be source. But yes, science is a very good guiding principle for morality also. You can say logic in that way. Okay. Yes. So, what do you think of the word authority then? Very good. Legitimate form of power. Okay. So, very good. Now, what is your take on authority then? Except sociology, they will always criticize authority. But in general, now, after listening to what we are talking about, authority, is it good or is it bad? Yes. Order. Yes. For the order. So basically, ethics makes authority inevitable. Can we say this? See, ethics is rules, principles. And what if somebody doesn't follow? There has to be someone, or generally we say, society has to correct the behavior. Punishment. Who would punish? Everybody wants to punish. But obviously, we also feel somebody does some crime, we feel so much of anger and punishment. मैं ही जाके गोली मार देता हूँ. Some really gruesome crime somebody does, we feel an urge to go and punish him or her. But then that that authority will be given to somebody, some body, agency to exercise, and that agency has to earn that legitimacy from people. We are talking about democracy, because somebody earns it from the divine power, monarchy. Okay, but somebody earns it from gun or weapon, dictatorship. Accept my authority, otherwise I'll kill you. Theoretically, dictatorship. But here, it is, are you able to understand how our society now is functioning? So, and it's such a complex society, we have a complex system of ethics. Somebody in Assam might be thinking something differently about some particular issue. Somebody in Rajasthan would be thinking in a different way. Somebody from Tamil Nadu thinking in a different way. Somebody from MP would be thinking, and still we are together. At least enough, or magically enough, I would say, the sense of integrity that we have. We have to give credit to all our founding fathers, Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, Ambedkar, others. It's not joke. Anyway, that is basically constitution. One thing that everybody follows is constitution, and that constitution allows your own religious things also to be practiced with reasonable restrictions. So we also have our ethicality, we also have our state, we as in India, though it is very, very complex, and we have our own judiciary, especially when it comes to correction of behavior, punishment, and criminal and civil dispute. So can we say now the Constitution of India today is a book representing living document, but it is a book representing the collective ethics of the society. So Constitution is nothing but common, I would say, common minimum ethical standards that every Indian agrees upon. That is there in the Constitution. See how interesting, how complex, how difficult it was, and how much of effort has gone in to have the system that we study in Lakshmikant. And it has direct connections with ethicality and philosophy. Yes. See there, yes, you're right. Some people also use constitutional ethicality. The word morality there is used in the context of, because it is the first source, like there is no reason behind something. Like here also, it is just to give it a importance on intensity and intimacy that we generally expect for morality, closeness, originality, it's the origin. Like generally when we put in thoughts, but once Constitution decides something, then we take Constitution as the first inspiration. Though the thought might have been of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's or somebody else's that time. Now once it becomes Constitution thought, now it is no more Ambedkar's thoughts alone. It is a thought of Constitution. So just to give the highest credit, the originality credit, original copyright basically, to the Constitution, we use the word morality there, just to establish that it's the original stuff. There is nothing that is beyond Constitution which is dictating Constitution. Ethics, groups dictates to individuals to some extent. Individuals also accepts that, not that you do it, then it becomes legality. You just do it because to avoid punishment. And it's not ethicality. What's the difference? What's the difference between law and ethics? This is the difference. Law is like something that you enforce. Yes. Ethics or ethical principles that are enforced externally, they are law. Ethics, ethical principles that are enforced, or enforced word should not be used, source internally, they are ethics. You're understanding? So when it is borrowed from group only, but you follow out of your own volition, then it is ethics. That's why I said ethics and morality should not be, you should not take the difference between the two very seriously, because most of the time they will be used as the something that is interchangeable. Okay? Yes. Anything else? We'll see some of the values, the words that you might have been hearing about as values, like typical words that we use in ethics. What do you understand by rationality? Yes, reason. Why it has to be considered very important in ethics? Yes, kind of. See, generally here, because the rationality per se has a very different meaning if we go to the strictest meaning of the word in philosophy. Rationality, rationalism, reason. But here, the word rationality means simple, that your prejudices, your emotional inclinations, your passion inclination should not be the consideration of your decision in the situation. It's a more of a practical solution mechanism that is given to you as an administrator to follow. समझ में आ गया? नहीं. Was it too technical? No. Rationality is some instrument, some guiding principle that is given to you to avoid getting swayed away from or swayed away by your emotional inclinations, prejudices, biases, and your passions. Because here comes, that's why rationality is close to what you are talking about, science, being scientific. So, for an administrator, rationality is more important. Because when you take the decision, it should be based on evidence. It should be based on, basically, evidence comes into objectivity, but rationality is, it should be based on logical decision making. Logical, yes. 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, go ahead, no. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 only. Because you knew choosing 5 would be more emotionally soothing to me. Some situation where choosing 5, number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, choosing 5 or fifth person is emotionally soothing to me. Even if that's the case, this will not allow you to choose 5 here. This will always force you to choose 4. So even if you think emotionally something else, with respect to your bias, something else, with respect to your own understanding, which is historically based, prejudices, whatever comes, that's why nowadays it's gaining a lot of this thing, that even administration and governance is becoming data oriented, right? So rationality is, you already, right, decision based. What is objectivity? What do you understand by objectivity in our ethical context? Facts and figures, very good. Now, slight digression, I'll tell you. In philosophy, objective means source from object. So in philosophy, it is always considered that there is a human being which generally always considered as subject, and there is always a thing. क्या है ये? Tree है ना, लग रहा है? So tree is an object. So normally when we say no, objective study means whatever your study, your conclusion, your interpretation should based on this alone, not on my understanding. So generally we say subjective interpretation means what? Yes, the thing in itself is something, you're bringing your own colors to it. So this is the basic, what we can say, basic meaning of the word subjective objective. From this concept, this is very important concept in philosophy, because knowledge is considered to be the relation between subject and object. Whenever subject comes into contact with object, knowledge emerges. Like that, there are many different issues. Point is, anything that you decide, you take the decision, it should be based on object alone. Sorry, object alone. And hence it is object. And this is the concept taken here again. It is very close. Objectivity is a sister of rationality. Right? Rationality and objectivity always go together. First, your fact, you collect the facts and second, you apply your reason. Both should happen, because on which would you apply your reasons to? Be if like for example, the fact that you received not in sync with the reality. However, logical your decision making will be wrong. And this happens many places. The way they collect the data, they will not collect the like deliberately, whatever reasons. The data collection itself will be manipulated. Once data is collected, then logic is applied, but the data itself is wrong. So that is objective. So objective is basically based on facts and figures. Rationality is based on reason. Then, and this is very, very crucial for an administrator, especially because as an administrator, there will always be human problems to be solved. So human problem, though it is human, problem will always have a rational solution. Because the word problem is actually, it's very scientific engineering kind of word, problem. In mathematics also we say problem solving. Because problem is the way you look at it. Humans will always be there. What you see as a problem and what you have to solve, not humans. You have to solve that problem. So, however emotional the issue might be, when it comes to solution for an administrator is concerned, objectivity and rationality has to be most important tool. So, it is generally considered that it's your responsibility to be objective and rational. It's like your standards for you. If you deviate from this, then you are doing something unethical, something unequal, something discriminating. So for an administrator, these two become very crucial values. What is the difference between sympathy, empathy, compassion? You might have heard this debate over a cup of coffee in ORL. Those who have started their foundation in ethics, they would tell you. What is sympathy, empathy, compassion? So these are different words at different levels of emotion, nothing else. Or different levels of response, I would say. Different levels of action, different levels of kind of stand that you take in some situation. One thing, whenever there is one more word, pity. So pity, sympathy, empathy, compassion, all these four, they are always come in connection between when somebody is not in suffering and the other is in suffering, or somebody is strong and somebody is weak, or somebody can or is capable, or somebody may help, somebody needs help. So there, whenever this kind of relation comes, this is just a representative. Don't take it as age or anything. It's about the capability of removing one's own problems. So basically, when this is the person, what feels for this person, situation, whatever. So pity is when you, yes. Yes. So pity is somewhere that when somebody is in suffering, you are aware that somebody is suffering, and at least you have no intention to enhance the suffering. So your inclination, your response in such a way that you don't want to enhance somebody's suffering, but you have no other connection there. There is no oneness at all. There is complete segregation between you and him. Sympathy is slightly more closer, intimate. Like basically, it's like increasing order of you taking interest in the person, a problem of a person. It's like becoming more and more intense emotionally. These are mostly emotional reactions. emotional responses. But not just because our personality is not just emotional, so certainly you will be acting also. Sympathy is, again, you have you have a trailer of the feeling that the other person is having. You're like, I can imagine how much pain you are going through. So I know you are going through the pain. Here, I can imagine how much pain you are going through. I can feel how much pain you are going through. So generally, empathy and compassion are our terms. These things are generally not taken very desirable in ethics. That's why UPSC also talks about empathy and compassion. Empathy and compassion, yes. Compassion is where obviously you are so strongly feeling about it, not just feeling about it, perhaps it is becoming yours. So compassion is possible when there is a sense of oneness, at least to that extent of possible. So obviously, if you feel one with someone with suffering, this basically you are suffering. So when someone is suffering, like you are suffering, and you know you have capacity to remove the suffering. Like somebody is biting you, pinching you, and you know you can remove it. What would you do? Remove it. You're understanding the point. So that's the role of basically compassion, empathy, and generally, see, we, for sake of understanding, we do this segregation. They have never asked the differentiation between empathy and compassion till now. They take it like ethics and morality, rationality and objectivity, empathy and compassion. They take it together. But for sake of, at least for sake of, because different words means different, there are two different words. So obviously there will be two different meanings. So it's better we are aware about that, right? Yes. Then what is crisis of conscience? You might have heard this. See, empathy is when you feel exactly the same suffering that the other person is feeling. So it's like feeling the suffering of someone. Because suffering is pain. Pain is not just logical. Can pain be logical? Pain is experiential. So you also experience the pain of the suffering. All these four, pity, sympathy, empathy, compassion, is about someone else's suffering, your response to someone else's suffering. That much is clear. If somebody is not suffering, none of the four will be there in the picture. If somebody is not in suffering, why would you be either anything of these four? So when somebody is in suffering, when you feel the suffering of the other, it is called empathy. But when you also compassionate, means the kind of passion that is here feeling, the kind of feeling you actually feel exactly the same way and act against, like act to kind of reduce the suffering. Yes. What is the crisis? What is conscience? Yesterday we saw it. Yes. Or internal inner moral compass, which actually indicate towards or first helps us segregate between right and wrong, and this automatically happens the moment something is successfully segregated between right and wrong. The automatic response is the push from inside to do the right. It is automatic, right? You no need to have some other thing there. So crisis of conscience is this process of right and wrong, compass, best way to understand it. This is north, south. So compass will always show towards north. Some places the compass start doing this. For crisis of conscience in us, right and wrong, somebody, you are not able to understand what to do. Both situations are so intense that if you choose one, there is a huge impact on the other side. Both are very dear to you morally. This is moral, by the way. This is all about morality. not about, the things that might be dear to you. We are not getting into the emotional aspect of this. Somebody stealing your very beloved something, mobile or pen or something that has been there for last 20 years. My dadima gave me, my grandmother gave me. That is a different. That's not a crisis of conscience. That is emotional response. Here it is the crisis is all about right and wrong. And the sense right and wrong in ethical right and wrong is not just unidirectional right and wrong. This vector and scalar quantities. So right and wrong in ethics is a scalar quantity, not just vector. It's not just direction. It has magnitude also with it. It's not just right. It's having strong conviction towards right. Like there are some principles that you are like, I'll compromise. But this I will not compromise, whatever it is. But the situation in such that generally what happens, crisis of conscience comes into picture for someone who is very, very honest, very anti-corruption, very high moral courage and fortitude, comes in a situation where his agreement to corruption, which may not add much to some problem because anyway system is corrupt, but somebody's life will be saved. That is crisis of conscience. That for someone, it is uncompromisable to do some corruption for something or just sign this, just so that somebody else's corruption is, facilitated. But at the cost of what? If you do not do it, somebody is going to die for sure. And that life is also very strong, this thing for me. Somebody's life saving, this, if you save somebody's life, actually, you and the person will remember forever till the time you both are alive. That strong it is in you also. You may not have experienced that. It's a different feeling altogether. It's a different experience. I would not say it feeling also. Feeling becomes a little emotional thing. Existentially, you become a different person. If you genuinely save somebody's life, your sense of self-worth increases like anything. And that's a positive state to be in. In a local language, in a modern language, we can say that it's a high. It's a kind of high. It actually happens like that. Only thing is we don't get chance. And this actually, so that's the thing. So when somebody is having so much, and it is inherent, saving somebody's life is, giving you positive experience about your own self is always a positive thing for every human being, however so-called otherwise unethical he or she is. Because even if you might have seen in the movies also, they show so cruel the negative character is. One life-saving action he or she has done, in that movie there will be 50% people fan of that person. Even if the people know that he is a villain in the movie. This happens because it's a strong inclination every human being has. So the situation where you are genuinely saving someone's life at the cost of something, some ethical value, as I said, honesty or some compassion or anything else that you really, or bribe, corruption, that integrity we talked about. You have been doing it across your life, throughout your life, and you are you're forced to compromise. Then it's very difficult to decide. That is called crisis of conscience. Every small dilemma is not crisis of conscience. So you can say crisis of conscience is also kind of dilemma only, but it's very strong, very intense, and very intimate to you, your own personality. And classic example, that of when the crisis of conscience comes, the direct example is the pet example of ORN guys for crisis of conscience is the situation that Arjuna was in. Why he was in crisis of conscience? What would you have done if you were Arjuna? Think. Most of you know the story of Arjuna. At least basic thing. Anybody have no clue about what I'm talking about? Something you know, right? Arjun is there, and then he is fighting for the righteous order according to him, because whatever they have done, some villain is there. Okay. Then what is the crisis? Now he is compelled to kill all those who are his own people, number one. Number two, the teachers that who taught him only how to kill others, like how to fight in war. That's the reason he is in dilemma. What to do? You're getting the point. He's not able to decide what to do, because he knows even if I kill, there is nothing left for me. And if I don't kill, then what's the point of me being here as a protector? It's my responsibility, being a soldier. Forget about the word Kshatriya or anything. Just think like a military general, soldier. You cannot say that I cannot fight. That's your basic duty. Concept of duty. That's why generally people say in Gita, the concept of duty. Have you heard the word Nishkam Karma? What is the meaning? Yes. Here word calm means pleasure, interest. Your own interest, your own pleasure, your own positive vested interest. Nishkam means without any. Karma is obviously action. So Nishkam Karma is action without expectation, attachment, and stuff. So you do it because you are required to do it. I don't know what is there in me, whether I will be benefited, whether I will be rewarded, whether I will be given Padma Shri, whether I will be given governance award by Prime Minister, whether I will be given 1 crore by local MLA. No, I'm doing it because this is my duty, morally, legally, both. So Nishkam Karma, the concept is very, very strong, generally considered to be very strong principle for, or go-to principle for bureaucrats. That my job is to just do whatever is expected out of me as a bureaucrat or as a civil servant, whatever it is. Don't expect things from me. I give you an example of one of the case studies that had come, and the real thing also had happened about the metro line going, and then somebody is requesting you to, somebody either give you the lure or maybe using the fear. In both the cases, how would you sustain? Very difficult. This fear, in fear, remaining with your conscience is very difficult. In lure, remaining with your conscience is very difficult. That's the reason we have to create it like a standards that that is ingrained in you. That's what the religion used to do. That since childhood, some things will be told, some things will be ingrained in you in such a way that you cannot just do it. Like example, I'll tell you. The earlier societies in this part of India, Gangetic plain of India, were pastoral societies. So their heavy dependence for their own survival is on the cow and the bulls. Now, they know there is always a inclination to, enjoy the meat of cow. How to enjoy the meat of anything for that matter. So how to restrict people from doing it? Because then if that happens, the whole economy will be destroyed. So they created that as a religious value. And it is ingrained so much in people now that we are no more a milching society, no more a pastoral society. Still people cannot do it. So it is very difficult. That's the reason values are generally inculcated. We'll come to it in the next chapter of human values and inculcation. Value inculcation is always, successfully happens through these things, family, religion, society. Because unless values are inculcated, they have no impact. Just telling the values have no impact at all. It has to be inculcated. That's why people talk about moral education in the schools only. Because you know how much morality, new morality that you can teach to the older generation or even for that matter beyond 30 generations. Difficult. Okay, so point I was saying is these things, these systems, these points become so close to you that you cannot deviate. Then only you can say that it is part of your ethics. And when somebody pushes you to break that for something other, which is also ethical for you, then crisis occurs. Right? Yeah, this regarding Nishkam Karm, do you know that famous shloka of Gita, which is generally used also in, you can use in essay also, ethics also, interview also. Karmanyavadikaraste kadachana. Okay, what's the meaning? Yes. See, actually the message is not that the way he was saying, or normally it is popular. They have twisted that to be in a very instructive, normative way. It is not instructive way. It is not even in normative way. It is not telling you what to do or what not to do. It is a descriptive way. It is just telling you the truth of the thing. Like, I'll just tell you, when you jump from second floor, this much will be the force, this much will be the impact on your bone, and your bone will break into this much pieces. Information over. Now choice is yours. Instead of saying, don't jump. Don't jump is instructive. What will happen if you jump is, it is descriptive. So it says, your jurisdiction of your own right, your own not entitlement, your control basically. Your adhikara is control. So your jurisdiction ends at your karma. Your jurisdiction has no say in fruit. That's all. Now you decide whether to worry about fruit or not. It is not saying that don't worry about fruit. No. You do whatever. It's your choice. But it's logical conclusion. It's saying your adhikar ends with karma. And you have no adhikara. Here word adhikara means control, jurisdiction. You have no jurisdiction over the fruit. So example that they give is, you might have a complete control on your own hands, your own bow and arrow, your own eyes, your own stability, because it comes from practice. But you have no control over the movement of the deer or whatever animal, whatever your goal is. Because that you might be perfect in something and it will just move like this. For whatever reasons it has. You miss. This is exactly what happens in UPSC. Your control is on your own subjects. And even if you are the best, honestly, I'm telling you, you still may not get into the list that year. This happens. You know, you talk to people, this happens. So please be, that's why they have kept more attempts, right? Because every time you will not be, there are, what we can say, not to discourage you, but there are cases like this also. One of my students, you know how many interviews he gave? Can you imagine? Those who know, don't speak. 6 interviews in a row. In a row, without gap in between. 6 was his last attempt. Even after that interview, he could not get selected. Now, just imagine 6 interviews means 6 prelims, 6 mains, and then 6 interviews. And then next prelims, next mains, and all successful, except after interview. So, in last 12, 15 years, it's only one example. But by the way, he is in forest service because he got into forest. And forest interview got good marks, so he got it. Very last year's result, I'm telling you. But this is very, very, very exceptional case. Rest all, those who put efforts, they get into. So what you need to do is, So nishkam doesn't mean that don't have goal. Only you might have goal, but be very clear that you have no control over the goal. Your control is on your own efforts. Okay, one more thing. What is gratitude? Yes. Yes. Gratefulness. What is the importance of the gratitude in our ethical thing? The whole discourse of ethicality? Yes, very good. See, gratitude is a very interesting thing. Even practical life also, I'm telling you. You have gratitude means your other basic ethical conceptions are in place. You know, there is no sense of, or there is no sense of over entitlement that you have for you. Whatever you have got, you are more than happy about it. Then only you can be grateful. And the sense of service that UPSC also talks about flows only from the sense of gratitude. Because sense of service means what? Where is the word service comes into picture? Serve means what? When you act, when you do something of somebody else's benefit, you do not do it so that something will be received. You do it because you already received something. Spirit of service means what? You do it because you already receive, you think. You already received something, there is a sense of giving back. Because see, you do something, you always, obviously, it's a give and take, right? But in the context of service, the sense of service, the context is like, I have already received so many things, now I'm just giving it back. Then only it is service. And then only you can do something without expecting anything from the other side. And that is possible because gratitude, like for example, you have to be grateful to what you are now. It's not a joke, and it's actually not a joke. Best way is to have knowledge about what is happening in other society. I'm not saying everything is best here, but enough to have gratitude towards especially the freedom movement and everything. We know that history we study, and the reformers and all. So gratitude is, and the good thing about gratitude is very interesting, is that the one who is in gratitude or have a sense of gratitude is also in a pleasant experience. And towards whom you have gratitude, he's also feeling positive about it. So there is win-win situation. So gratitude, there is this movie in, I think, Telugu movie, which got remade by Salman Khan later, in which this thanks wala, this thing is there. Jeho ends this thing, but what is the Telugu movie? I don't know. Stalin. So what he does, he helps someone. So somebody says thank you. He says, no, don't say thank you to me. Help 3 others. Interesting, right? Because what he's saying, don't waste your energy of feeling good about something by just saying thank you. Because sometimes people say, thank you, bol to diya hai. You know, as if thank you is some kind of obligation or some kind of extra thing you're doing. So the sense of gratitude is something which makes you feel good about yourself. So it's a very good message. And by the way, this, even if you quote film or not quote film, but this idea is very good in ethics paper. You can mention it as example. Okay, you can mention it in written in one book, or written in some story, or written in some movie also. But it's very good idea, because what you're doing, the sense of pleasantness you experience in gratitude, you're not wasting it out by just saying thank you and everything is closed. You do it for other, and it's creating a chain reaction also. Because ethicality can sustain only when chain reaction. Only 2 people, you and me, decide everything good, others will not be. So it's always better to spread ethical messages, not just to follow. Ethics, that's why when you follow, it's better you spread also. So it's a very good example where you you spread the energies of gratitude towards 3 more people. Now they will do 3 more people if they do. And if this become movement, it's a good thing. Everybody is feeling happy. Small instances at least give some happiness. Okay. So gratitude is that sense of thankfulness. It's a win-win situation because the one who is grateful to and the one who is towards the person is grateful at, both are experiencing the happiness, right? What is the concept of, the word duty? The concept of this word duty has come from the word due. What is the meaning of due? Owe something. So somebody is already due. Means you already received something, now you're due. With that sense, if you do, it's a duty. So doing things with the sense of giving it back. That's why service, duty. So you understand the word duty from where it comes. So you are already indebted, sense of indebtedness, and you are doing it out of. So you do it not just with sense of, what we can say. What is the word for that? I am not able to recollect. But we say it in Hindi, upkar jaise kar, some kind of favor, extra favor. No, duty is something you do it because it's a basic existential response that you have, that you are giving to that particular situation. So that's why the sense of duty is important, because you should feel and that is connected with gratitude, that is connected with service. That's why you very aptly it is called Indian administrative service. Now you understood word service here. Duty, gratitude, and so be grateful that you are been selected to serve the society, right? You know the word penance? What is the meaning of the word penance? No, that is remorse. Penance is not paschatap in Sanskrit, Hindi also. It is remorse, not tapasya. There is a word, I'll tell you. There is a proper Sanskrit word for this, penance. But okay, what is the meaning of the penance? Forget about the word. It is called prayashchit, not paschatap. Prayashchit. But anyway, what is penance? How it is different from punishment? That is also different. So in penance, what happens? There is a strong realization of the wrong. So it's basically next step of guilt. So when you are in guilt, and if you are strong enough, you go through penance. So you decide yourself to go through penance. And why penance is good? Why it has an ethical importance? Because then, obviously, your sense, basically, see, first of all, your sense of self-worth is very strong. Your expectation from yourself ethically is very strong. And without any violence happening, you're going through the reformation. Because punishment means some kind of violence will happen. If others, when people are not able to go through penance, then state has to come into picture with punishment. Generally, if you go through penance, there is no punishment required, because you are yourself going through something which even punishment wouldn't have thought of. So generally, punishment, that's why punishment is a legal, socio-political thing. Penance is an ethical thing. And for that, for penance becoming very usual, very normal in society, for that society has to be at very different ethical standards. Now, because society is not that ethical standards, we have to rely upon punishment. Okay, then any doubt if you have, please ask. Otherwise, this general things are. Any doubt? Yes, you want to come? No, fairness. Fairness is absence of discrimination. So fairness comes into picture when the one is expressing some treatment towards two. So fairness is in treatment, rational is in human being. So fairness can be result of rational behavior. Okay. So I guess tomorrow you have some test or something. Off for preparation, because why I'm confirming with you, because they have told me that tomorrow there is no lecture. That's why. Okay, then see you on, yeah. Not with just English, this thing. Sense is more intellectual in nature, spirit is more emotional, spiritual in nature. That's all. The word spirit actually is coming from, spirit is close to soul, spirit, spirituality. No, so see, generally sense is like more towards understanding of it, intellectual. Spirit is towards whole personality. Both of, it goes into spirituality and all. Okay, then see you on Thursday. You are having internal security. Other classes on Monday, Tuesday, IR, internal relations. Okay, bye bye.